The sky was burning. Ben opened his eyes to smoke, fire, and broken metal. His shuttle had crashed on a strange alien planet after being shot down. He coughed, trying to stand. His body ached, and his leg was bleeding. But he was alive. His ship was gone. His team no signs. He was alone. Ben limped through thick red grass and dark trees that looked like they were made of glass. The planet's sky was deep purple, and the suns hung above. He didn't know the name of this world, but he knew one thing: it wasn't safe. He found shelter in a shallow cave by evening. He wrapped his leg, drank from a purifier tube, and watched the stars above. His thoughts went back to Earth, to the people he left behind, to the orders that sent him here. It was just another mission. But now, everything had changed. The next day, while gathering supplies, Ben heard a strange noise. A voice, faint and soft, carried by the wind. Cautiously, he followed the sound through the forest. What he found made him freeze. A figure lay on the ground, not human. Her skin was silver blue, glowing faintly. Her long dark hair was tangled and wet with blood. She wore torn armor, elegant yet battle-worn. Her breathing was shallow. She was an alien woman, clearly not a soldier. Like him, she looked more like someone important, someone royal. Ben stepped closer, holding his small weapon, just in case. But when she opened her eyes, he saw no threat, only pain. "Please," she whispered. Barely moving, Ben knelt beside her. "I'm not going to hurt you. Stay still." Her eyes closed again, and she fainted. Ben made a quick decision. He couldn't leave her here to die. He built a stretcher from branches and carried her back to his cave. It took hours. His legs screamed in pain, but he didn't stop. Something inside him told him she was important. When she woke again, she was inside the cave, wrapped in thermal blankets. Her wounds were clean. Her armor had been removed with care. Ben sat nearby, sharpening a piece of metal into a knife. "You saved me," she said quietly. Ben looked up. "You were hurt. I couldn't leave you." She studied him. "You're human." He nodded. "And I'm Arya," she said, "of the Varillian Empire." Ben raised an eyebrow. "That explains the crown-shaped armor." She smiled weakly. "I was queen." "Not anymore." "What happened?" Ben asked. She closed her eyes, remembering. "My ship was attacked. My own people, those loyal to my brother, betrayed me. They left me for dead." Ben didn't know much about the Virillians. Humans and their kind had avoided war, but there was always tension. Now he was sitting in a cave, talking to their former queen. "Why would your brother betray you?" Ben asked. "He wants power. I wanted peace," Arya replied. Silence filled the cave. Only the crackle of a small fire remained. That night, Ben sat outside the cave, staring at the stars. Arya limped out beside him. He offered her his jacket. She hesitated but took it. "Why did you help me?" she asked softly. "I don't like watching people die," he said. "Doesn't matter what planet they're from." She looked at him, her eyes glowing gently under the starlight. "Most wouldn't have cared." Ben shrugged. "I'm not most." They sat in silence for a while. The sky shimmered with falling stars. In that quiet moment, their worlds felt closer. Days passed. Ben hunted small creatures and brought food. Arya helped him build better traps. She shared how her people used wind to detect sound, how trees whispered danger. She had knowledge, wisdom, and strength, but no arrogance. Ben taught her how to use a human communicator, how to fix a heat coil, and how to cook with spice packs. They were from different worlds, yet worked like a perfect team. Their bond grew not just through survival, but through the way they listened to each other. Each night, they sat close to the fire, sharing stories from their past. Arya spoke of her palace and the lonely halls filled with duty. Ben spoke of Earth's cities, music, and the sea he missed. One night, after a long walk under the twin moons, Arya stopped near a glowing lake. Its waters sparkled with soft light. She looked at Ben, then sat on a rock by the edge. "I never thought I'd be alive," she said, "let alone safe." Ben sat beside her. "Me neither." She looked at him. "Do you miss your home?" He nodded. "Every day. But out here, I found something else. What? He turned to her. Peace. In a strange way. With you. She didn't speak for a moment. Then she placed her hand over his, warm, gentle, not royal, just real. Even if we only have this night, she whispered. I'm glad it was with you. Ben didn't speak. He only nodded, squeezing her hand back. But peace never lasted. The next day, Arya picked up a faint signal. A Varillian patrol was near. She sent a coded message through Ben's communicator. Hours later, a sleek silver ship arrived her loyal. Guards had found her. As they stepped out, Arya turned to Ben. You must come with me. Ben shook his head. They won't trust me. I'll slow you down. You save me, she said. You have to live. He looked at her, his heart heavy. You'll be safe now. That's enough for me. Arya wanted to argue, but there was no time. Enemies were tracking the signal. She leaned forward, holding his face in her hands. If I survive this, I'll find you again. He smiled, even as his eyes filled with sadness. I'll wait. As the ship took her away, Ben stood alone, once again, watching the stars fade behind clouds. He didn't know that her promise would echo across the stars for years to come. The silver ship rose into the sky, taking Arya away. Ben watched until it vanished into the clouds, the soft hum of engines fading into silence. He stood still for a long time. The cave felt empty without her. The fire still burned, but there was no voice to share stories. No footsteps beside his. No laughter in the night. Ben didn't know if he would ever see her again. The Varillian ship raced through space. Inside, Queen Arya lay on a medical table, surrounded by her loyal guards. The head guard, a female named Runna, looked over her with concern. You should rest, my queen. I will, Arya said softly. But first send a message to the capital. Tell them I am alive. And the human, Runna asked. Arya's eyes turned distant. He stayed behind. He was injured, but he chose to protect me instead of saving himself. Should we go back for him? No, Arya whispered. The enemy will trace our flight path. If we return now, they'll kill him. He needs to disappear. Ben did disappear. After days of walking and hiding, he found a small rescue beacon, buried in a crashed satellite. It was old but still working. He used it to send a message into human space. A week later, a human supply vessel picked up his signal. When they found him, Ben was thinner, tired, and silent. He didn't speak much. He told them only the basic survival, crash, and injuries. He didn't mention the alien queen. That part was his to keep. Back on Earth, Ben was given leave. He refused medals, refused interviews. He just wanted peace. He moved far away, to a quiet farming planet called Valden, where no one asked questions. He bought a small home near the hills, grew food, fixed machines, and stayed out of trouble. Each night, he sat under the stars and waited. Meanwhile, Arya returned to her broken world. Her brother had declared her dead and taken the throne. But when she returned, the people were shocked. Some knelt, others feared her. Many were confused. The palace had changed. Walls once filled with flowers and peace were now covered in cold banners of power. She didn't cry. She didn't rage. She simply took back her crown, with Runna and a small group of loyal friends. She worked quietly, removing the traitors, calming the people, and bringing back the peace she once promised. But it wasn't easy. She had changed. At night, Arya would walk to her private garden, where earth-like trees now grew. One tree had long branches with red leaves just like the ones on the planet where she had met him. Ben, the name stayed with her every day. She had asked her guards to search Earth colonies, old war reports, and hidden systems. No luck. It was as if he vanished from the stars. But she never gave up. 5 years passed. In that time, Arya rebuilt her empire. She ended a long-standing war with the Urine. She created a new council with voices from other species. She even made contact with the Human Peace Office. But still no Ben. One day, while visiting a trade hub near the edge of human space, Arya overheard something strange. A merchant from Valen was bragging. I saw a man once, looked like an old soldier, lived alone, had a limp, didn't talk much, but he knew how to fix anything. Even saved my son's tractor from exploding. Arya turned sharply. This man, what did he look like? Tall. Brown hair, scar near the left eye. The merchant said. Her heart raced. Did he have a name? The merchant shrugged. Didn't say much. Just called himself Ben. That night, Arya stood on the balcony of her starship, staring into the stars. 5 years. He had waited. She had found him. Prepare the ship, she ordered Runna. We're going to Valden. And this time, I'm going alone. Back on Valden, Ben walked through the golden fields, his coat covered in dust. He had spent the day fixing an old water pump for a neighbor. The sun was setting. Orange light bathed the land. He looked up at the sky. A distant light moved slowly across the horizon. A ship. He stared at it, unsure why his heart began to beat faster. Later that evening, as he sat by his porch, drinking a warm cup of herbal tea, he heard soft footsteps behind him. He turned and dropped the cup. There she stood. Arya. Her hair flowed in the wind. She wore simple robes, not royal armor. Her eyes were just as he remembered, bright, kind, and filled with something that had never faded. Hello, Ben, she said gently. He blinked. Is it really you? She nodded. You kept your promise. You waited. He stood there, unable to speak. Emotion hit him like a wave. I searched for you, she whispered. Across stars, across war, across time. I never forgot. He finally stepped forward. I thought you might have. I couldn't, she said. You saved me when I had nothing left. You gave me hope. I didn't do anything special. You did everything, Arya replied. And now, I'm here. They stood in silence. Then Ben reached out slowly. Arya didn't move away. Their hands touched, warm and gentle. The stars above seemed to shine brighter. Ben smiled. You found me. Arya smiled back. And I'm never leaving again. The next morning, Valden's sun rose quietly over the hills. Golden light spilled over the fields as wind moved gently through the crops. The world remained peaceful, yet something had changed. Ben stood by the fence, watching the horizon. Arya was nearby, walking through the tall grass. She had removed her robe and now wore simple traveler's clothes, blending in with the planets. Calm, they hadn't spoken much after last night's reunion. But words weren't always needed. Ben finally turned to her. Why now? Why after all this time? Arya looked at him with soft eyes. Because I promised. He smiled faintly. You're still the same. No, she said. I'm not. Not entirely. The throne changed me. The war changed me. But one thing never did. What's that? You, she said simply. Ben looked down at the soil, brushing a finger across the leaf. I didn't think you'd remember me. I remembered everything. She said, the cave, the lake, that quiet night. You didn't just save me, you reminded me who I was. As they sat on the porch, Arya explained what had happened after she returned to her world. My brother was removed quietly, she said. There was no public battle, only silence. My people were confused, afraid. But they followed, Ben. Listen as she spoke about rebuilding cities, calming border fights, and restarting trade with other species. She never once used proud words. There was no bragging, only weight in her voice like a leader who carried too much. You should have stayed with me, she said suddenly. Ben didn't answer. I looked everywhere, she continued, every human base, every frontier station. I even searched hospital records, but it was like you vanished. I wanted to vanish, Ben said softly. I was tired of fighting, of running. I thought maybe, if I stayed still, I could heal. Arya nodded. And did you? Maybe, he replied. Until now, I wasn't sure. Later that day, they walked through Valden's nearby market. People gave Arya curious glances, but Ben's presence beside her kept them quiet. She admired the way he lived, humble, simple, and honest. At one stall, a local boy accidentally dropped a box of tools. Ben bent down to help him without a second thought. Arya watched quietly. You never changed, she whispered. As they left the market, Arya finally spoke of her real purpose. I didn't just come here to see you, she said. There's something else. Ben glanced at her. What? Storm is coming. Not just between planets, but between people. You mean war? Not exactly. There are those in my empire who still want the old ways. They believe I've grown too close to humans, that I've forgotten what it means to be Varillian. Ben crossed his arms. And me? They see you as a danger, Arya said. Symbol of everything they fear. Ben sighed. So they'll come for me. Yes, he didn't flinch. Let them. I won't let them hurt you, Arya said quickly. That's why I came alone. No guards. No ships. Just me. Ben paused. You risked everything. She nodded. For you. That night, they sat beside a fire outside Ben's home. The stars above blinked silently, the same stars they once shared on another planet. Ben poked at the fire. Why me, Arya? You're a queen. You have power, fleets, followers. Why chase a simple man like me? Because you didn't care about any of that, she said. You saw me, not the crown. You gave me something no throne could. What? A choice? Ben looked into her eyes. And now? I choose you, she said gently. His heart beat faster. But before either could say more, a sharp buzzing sound broke the silence. Arya's small wrist device blinked red. She checked the screen. Her face turned serious. They found us, she said. Ben stood. How many? Only a scout ship. But they'll send more. He looked toward the hills. We need to move. I can handle it, Arya said, standing up. I don't want you caught in this. Ben shook his head. You brought this to me. I'm not letting you fight alone. They grabbed their gear, old weapons, energy tools, and a small communicator. As the two of them prepared to leave, Arya turned to him. There's a place I can take you, a safe zone in neutral space. Ben raised an eyebrow. Are you running? No, but I won't let them take you from me, she replied. He smiled slightly. Then let's run together. They moved under the night sky, traveling through the forest behind the fields. Arya moved with practiced skill, graceful and quiet. Ben followed her lead, using paths he'd mapped years ago for hunting. They reached a small valley where Ben kept an old hidden transport ship under camouflage netting. He opened the hatch. Still works, I think. Arya stepped inside and smiled. You've been more prepared than I thought. Ben smirked. Old habits die hard. They lifted off quietly, leaving Valen behind, hours later. As the ship glided through space, Arya leaned back in the co-pilot's seat. I knew you'd still be strong. Ben shrugged. I'm not the same man I was. You're better, she replied. He looked at her. What happens when we land at your safe zone? I'll speak to the council. Try to stop what's coming. But there's no promise it'll work. And me, you'll stay with me, Arya said. Where I can protect you. Ben sat silently, thinking. Then he reached into his old pack and pulled out a small, folded paper. It was old and faded. What's this? She asked. He opened it. A drawing, rough and simple. A star, a hill, a cave, and small figures sitting together. I made this the day you left, he said. So I'd never forget. Arya touched the paper gently. You remembered everything. He smiled. Just like you. The small ship hummed quietly as it entered the orbit of the neutral space station called Haven. It was a safe place where different species met to trade and talk without war. Ben sat beside Arya, watching the stars outside. His heart was heavy, with hope and fear. He had not been to space in years, and now he was returning with the woman he once saved, the alien queen. Arya looked calm, but Ben saw something behind her eyes, a deep determination. As the ship docked, guards came aboard. They were a mix of humans and Varillians, neutral but respectful. Arya stepped forward, speaking softly. I'm Queen Arya of the Varillian Empire. I request audience with the council. The guards nodded and led them inside. The council chamber was large and bright, filled with representatives from many planets. They sat around a circular table. Arya stood before them, proud and calm. I have returned, she said, and I bring a warning. Forces loyal to the old regime plot to destroy the peace we have built. They seek to harm not only my people, but also our human allies. A murmur spread through the room. She looked toward Ben. And this man is the reason I live today. Ben saved my life. He risked everything. And now, I ask for protection for him and for the peace we want." Ben felt eyes on him. Some curious, some doubtful. One council member, a tall alien with green skin named Vexer, spoke sharply. "Why should we trust a human? They are unpredictable." Arya's eyes hardened. "Because humanity's strength is in its heart, Ben is." Proof of that, Ben stood. "I don't ask for trust. I only want a chance to help." Vexer sneered. "Help or spy for your people?" Ben met his gaze. "I am no spy. I was a soldier, yes, but I believe in peace." The council debated for hours. Ben and Arya waited quietly. Finally, the council leader, an elder named Kylan, spoke. "Queen Arya, Ben, your bond shows hope. We grant you temporary protection here. But be warned, enemies will come. Trust must be earned." Arya bowed slightly. "Thank you." Ben relaxed but stayed alert. After the meeting, Arya and Ben walked through the station's gardens. Ben asked, "Do you really think the peace will last?" Arya smiled sadly. "Peace is never simple, but we have to try." Ben looked at her. "You've changed since we last met, not just as queen, but as a person." Arya nodded. "The throne changes everyone. I learned hard lessons, but I also learned about hope." She stopped beside a fountain that glowed softly. "Ben, I want you to know something." He looked at her, curious. "You saved me not just by healing my body, but by reminding me of who I am. I had forgotten kindness, trust, and hope." Ben felt a lump in his throat. "I was just doing what felt right." "No," she said firmly. "You did more than that." Suddenly, alarms sounded through the station. Enemy ships detected near the border. A guard shouted. Arya's face tightened. "We must prepare," she said. Ben grabbed his gear. "Looks like the fight isn't over." Arya nodded. "But now, we face it together." That night, before the battle, Arya and Ben stood on the station's highest balcony. The stars stretched out endlessly. Ben asked softly, "If we survive this, what then?" Arya looked at him. "Then we rebuild. Together." Ben smiled. "I like the sound of that." They clasped hands, ready to face whatever came next. The quiet peace of the neutral station was shattered. Enemy ships appeared on the horizon, sleek, dark, and armed. The rogue faction loyal to Arya's brother had returned. They wanted power, and they wanted to destroy the new peace. Ben stood beside Arya in the command room. Both wore simple armor. Ben's was worn, but clean. Arya's gleamed with royal insignia. "We need to move quickly," Arya said. "They will try to hit us before we can gather allies." Ben nodded. "What's the plan?" "We defend the station. Hold until reinforcements arrive. But we need to be smart." Ben's eyes narrowed. "Then we use what they don't expect." The battle began. The enemy ships fired bright red lasers, tearing the quiet space apart. Ben led a small group of fighters, a mix of humans and Virilians. He used tactics learned on Earth's battlefields: quick strikes, hidden traps, and distractions. The enemy didn't expect human guerrilla tactics. They were confused and slowed. Arya coordinated the fleet, inspiring her people with calm orders and fierce determination. On the station's surface, a group of enemy saboteurs tried to sneak inside. Ben and his team fought them in narrow corridors. The fight was close and dangerous, but Ben's leadership kept them alive. He noticed a young soldier hesitating in battle. Ben called out to him, "Trust yourself. You're stronger than you think." The soldier nodded, then charged forward with new courage. The fight stretched for hours. At one point, Ben was separated from the group. He hid behind a control panel, breathing hard. Suddenly, a young Virilian woman appeared. She was badly wounded. "Help me," she gasped. Ben lifted her gently and carried her to safety. "Why help an enemy?" she asked weakly. Ben smiled. "Because we all deserve a chance." She looked at him, surprised. Back in the command room, Arya watched the battle with steady eyes. A messenger entered. "Reinforcements are 5 minutes away." Arya's voice was calm but strong. "Hold the line. We end this today." When reinforcements arrived, the tide turned. The enemy ships retreated, and the saboteurs surrendered. Arya stepped forward. Speaking to the captured leader, Your fight is over. Come peacefully or face justice. The leader bowed his head. We will surrender after the battle. Arya and Ben walked through the damaged station. Ben looked around. So much destruction. Arya nodded. But we saved what matters most, hope. Ben smiled. We did it together. That night, in a quiet room, Arya and Ben sat by a window looking at the stars. Ben spoke softly. I never thought I'd fight for a queen. Arya smiled. And I never thought I'd have a human by my side. They reached for each other's hands. I'm glad you stayed, Arya said. Ben nodded. Me too. The war was over, but the future was just beginning. Together, they would face it stronger than ever. The station had survived, but Arya knew it was only the beginning. The captured leader of the rogue faction, Commander Vorn, had spoken under pressure. His words chilled the air in the council chamber. There's a base, he said, hidden deep in the Vorn belt, inside a field of broken asteroids. The last loyalists are gathering there. They won't stop until the queen is dead and peace is destroyed. Arya stood in silence for a moment. Then she turned to the others in the room. We must strike first, not for revenge but to protect the future. Ben stood beside her. Then let me go with you. One council member shook his head. You're a farmer now, not a fighter. Ben met his eyes calmly. Maybe, but I know how to fight, and I've stood beside Arya before. I won't let her go alone. Arya placed her hand gently on Ben's shoulder. He goes with me. Within hours, the ship Starwind was ready to leave. It was a joint command vessel, half human built, half Aurelian, a sign of new unity. Ben and Arya stood at the bridge together. Soldiers round them whispered about the human who once saved the queen and now stood at her side again. Ben wore simple armor, old but repaired. Arya wore a blue and silver battle robe, her eyes focused and calm. The stars stretched out before them as the ship moved toward the Vorn belt. When they reached the asteroid field, the ship slowed down. The Vorn belt was dangerous. Giant rocks spun wildly, some big as cities. The enemy base was hidden somewhere among them. Ben studied the map. They've placed their base near the shadow's side. Hard to detect, even harder to reach. Arya nodded. We'll have to fly through manually. No autopilot. She turned to her pilot. Prepare a stealth team. Ben stepped forward. Let me lead them. Are you sure? She asked. He smiled. You saved me once too. Let me return the favor. That night, before the mission, Arya met Ben on the ship's quiet observation deck. The stars blinked softly outside. You don't have to do this, she said. Ben turned toward her. Yes, I do. She stepped closer. If something happens to you, he gently took her hand. Then know I chose this, just like I chose to help you 5 years ago. Arya looked into his eyes. Come back to me. Ben smiled. Always. The stealth team launched into the dark belt. Ben led the way, using old Earth tactics, slow power, slow movement, hiding behind debris. The enemy didn't see them coming. They reached the outer wall of the enemy base, hidden inside a massive hollow asteroid. Guards walked the edge, unaware. Ben gave silent hand signals. The team moved like shadows, disabling alarms and sneaking inside. Once in, they planted small charges, just enough to weaken the defenses, not to destroy. Ben activated his communicator. Charges placed. Begin outer strike. Above the asteroid, Arya led the Starwind in a sudden attack. Lasers hit the weak points. Explosions lit up the rock. Inside the base, chaos erupted. Enemy guards shouted. Sirens blared. Ben and his team pushed through. Capturing the command room, he held his rifle steady as the enemy surrendered. No more fighting, he said. This ends now. After the battle, Arya landed on the asteroid with her guards. She found Ben standing near the command room, dust on his armor, a light cut on his cheek but alive. You did it, she said. He smiled. We did it. She walked closer and hugged him, not as a queen but as someone who had waited too long to see him safe. Back on the Starwind, news of the victory spread across the galaxy. The last of the rebels had fallen. The war was over, truly, this time. The Varillian Empire and the Human Council sent a shared message to all systems. Peace is one. Together, we are stronger. Later, in a quiet moment, Arya stood with Ben on a small platform overlooking the stars. Do you think they'll accept this? Peace? She asked. They already are, Ben said. People want to believe in something better. She nodded. And you? What do you want now? He looked at her for a long moment. I want a future. Not just for Earth or Varelia, but for us. Arya smiled. Then stay with me. No more hiding. No more battles. Ben reached out and took her hand. I'm not going anywhere. That night, the stars over the Starwind seemed brighter. The sky was quiet. No sounds of war. Only peace. And at the heart of it stood a human and a queen once lost, now found, together. They had not just survived. They had changed the galaxy. It had been 1 week since the battle in the Vorn Belt. Peace was real, now stronger than before. News of the final victory spread quickly across the galaxy. The rebels were gone. The war was over. And at the center of it all stood a human man and an alien queen, Ben and Arya. They had returned to Varelia Prime, where the people waited eagerly to see their queen again. When she stepped off the starship with Ben at her side, a wave of silence fell. Then cheers rose like thunder. No one expected the queen to bring back the man from 5 years ago. But there he stood, alive, proud, by her side. Arya walked slowly through the royal palace gardens with Ben, the same place where she had once told him goodbye all those years ago. The trees were taller now, the flowers brighter. So much has changed, Ben said, brushing his fingers over a glowing blue petal. Yes, Arya replied, but not everything. They stopped at a small bench under a silver leaf tree. They sat. You still haven't told me, Arya said softly, why you disappeared after that night. Ben looked at the sky for a moment. Then he turned to her. I was scared. She blinked, surprised. Not of you, he added quickly. Of myself, of what I felt for you. That night, it meant something to me, more than I was ready to face. I thought it would be easier to vanish than to risk being left behind. Her voice was quiet. But I never wanted you to go. I know that now, Ben whispered. They sat in silence for a moment, the stars beginning to rise above the palace. I came back, he said, not just for peace, but for you. Arya turned to him, eyes shining. And I'm here, for you. The next morning, the Unity ceremony began. Leaders from human worlds and Varillian cities gathered in the royal hall. It was the first time such a gathering had ever happened, together. They signed the Treaty of Trust, a promise to work as one. For the future, Arya stood before the crowd and spoke. Long ago, fear divided us. Now, courage brings us together. Let this day be the beginning of something new. The people clapped. Then she turned to Ben and offered him the floor. He stepped forward, nervous but firm. I was once a soldier, he began. Then a farmer. Now, maybe something more. I'm just a man who found something worth fighting for, peace, in a place where I belong. I think we all want that, a place where we're not strangers, a place where we're needed. The crowd fell quiet, listening. I found that place here, and I found it with her. He looked at Arya. She smiled back at him, a soft smile only he could truly understand. Later that evening, Arya invited Ben to a private tower, a small round room made of crystal glass and soft lights. I want to show you something, she said. She opened a silver box and pulled out a small item. It was the necklace she had worn the night they first met, long ago on the battlefield. I kept it, she said, all these years, as a memory of us. Ben touched it gently. I remember. Then she brought out a second item, a ring made of dark star metal with a tiny glowing gem. This is for you, she said. Ben stared at it. What is it? In Varillian tradition, she explained. It's a symbol of bond, of trust, of choosing someone not just for now, but for always. Ben was quiet for a long time. Then he smiled. I have something too. He pulled out a small wooden box. Inside was a human-style ring, simple, smooth, made from his homeworld's oldest tree. He had carved it himself. I made this, A long time ago, he said. I didn't know why then. Now I do. Arya's voice trembled. Are you saying what I think you are? Ben nodded. I choose you? She placed the star metal ring on his finger. He placed the wooden ring on hers. No loud ceremony, no grand music. Just two hearts, finally united. The next weeks moved fast. Human and Virelian teams began working together on rebuilding old cities, sharing medicine, science, and history. Children from both worlds played in the gardens of the palace. Pilots from both races flew together. It was a new chapter. Ben was offered a high seat on the Human Council, but he said no. I'd rather stay here. He told them, this is my home now. Arya named him royal advisor not because he had power, but because she trusted his heart. They stood together not as rulers and subjects, but as partners. One night, as a soft rain fell outside the palace, Arya and Ben stood on the balcony overlooking the shining city. He wrapped his arm around her. She leaned into him. Do you think this will last? He asked. She nodded slowly. Yes, because we build it not from fear, but from hope. He smiled. From one night to forever. She laughed softly. Not the usual story. No, he said, but it's ours, and together, under the quiet sky. They watched a new dawn rise not just for Virelia, not just for Earth, but for them. A future shaped by peace, a future shaped by love. The end.